Okay, so now that we have our butterflies selected and brought in and the layers named, you can have a little fun with this. In the sample, you can see they're on different angles. We only really have 2 or 3 to work with, right? So you can see in the sample that some have had the color change, they've been rotated and they're scaled and so on. So this is your time to play around with those. Remember, you can do Command T to get the transform, or you just go to Edit and Transform. And the fact that you're keeping them smart objects means you can size this one down and you can move it somewhere and then press return and then just copy that layer. So I'm copying it, moving it to the new layer icon to make a copy, or you can do Command J and then again it'll be right there. Because it's a smart object, you'll be able to size it up, or you can size it down even more, rotate it, and put it somewhere else. Now, when you do that, if you're selected on that layer to change those colors, that's where you can go up to the image menu and adjustments and work with, typically when you're changing the color, you're working with hue saturation. So playing around with the colors a bit, rotation, size, and so on, and doing that with the group of them. So with the whole set. So let's see. This one is number 3. So I'll even make it look like it's kind of cropped out. And remember, you can even make a copy. I do this all the time. I almost did it by habit there. That you can hold Option down, click and drag, and that will make a copy as well of that layer. Command T, I'll size it down, rotate it a bit, and then with this again, press return. I'll go to my image menu, adjustments, hue saturation, select colorize. Now, monarchs typically aren't different colors, but this isn't your typical forest, so we're not going to worry about that. Even if I turn colorize off, I can change the hue of it a little differently. Okay, so get the butterflies in there, have some fun with that. If you want, you can figure out or play around with the pen tool and the clipping of that, and then bring in some text. So you can go to, of course, your type tool. And so you can have, of course, some fun with type 2, remembering that even it can be a smart object and it can take advantage of the smart object tools. However, once you've done that, remember that it's not editable text in your image. You have to double click to change that, and then this one, I'm not going to keep this typeface, but if I wanted to change the tracking or the kerning in certain spots, I have to isolate it from my document, and then I'll go back into my document. Oops. Close that. Save, and then it happens to the actual item there. So you might want to get the color of your type set prior to turning it to a smart object. Now if we convert it back to, we can't convert it back to type, but we can convert it to the rasterize, of course. So again, a little bit of limitation there, but I do like this, that you can still edit it. You can even, of course, change the color and oops. and then you'll close it, save it, and then it'll apply there. So I typically, when I work with type this way, I won't necessarily, I usually won't create a smart object out of it prior to being sure that the type is set the way I want to. And then again, it's a smart object, so you have some limitations, you know, with warping and all that. So you have to kind of have a few ideas that you want to do ahead of time before you really start to change the actual type of it, the actual typeface. You want to be sure that you're working with the type ahead of converting it so that you're able to manipulate it much more easily than just converting it to a smart object. Smart objects have their limitations, and I would have to say that you usually find out about them the hard way. That's when you're learning this. Now, even in this case, remember you have masking, so I'm not gonna do anything crazy with this type, but I'm gonna make it look like this butterfly is overlapping it, because I want to give a little bit of dimension to this. So I have that butterfly isolated. That is number 2. So I'll use my command click there. And then if I go to my type menu with that selected, I can mask it. You can see I can mask reverse, or I can, with my selection, do Command Shift I or invert the selection. Now the selection that I made on that butterfly is all around it, and I can apply a mask again, and it gives that little bit of overlap. So I can go even a step further. I can isolate that again. I'll make a new layer, and I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow with my brush, just a very little. So it's on top, so the best thing to do here is get that, of course, under the butterfly, and in fact, that would have been an even better way to just do the overlap anyway, so I don't even really need the mask. And then on here, I can give a little bit of shadow. So that mask I can eliminate just because I'm able to move that layer beneath. Okay, so, and remember, overlap in any piece always gives it a little bit of dimension, which can be fun. I'll just move that down a bit. So play around like that. Have fun with this. But remember that when you're working with those smart objects, everything is being nested in. Remember, we saw with the background, all of this is nested into that layer. When you rasterize a layer, you're going to lose all of that.